Hey everybody, it's Skully. I wanted to take a moment to talk about self-love in this video because I felt like it was something very important worth talking about. And as somebody who, struggled with self-love really, probably for most of their life, I figured something that hits pretty close to home for me. So I figured, hey, why not make a video about it, you know? Um, I've learned through my personal experience that it is kind of something that comes with age. I think when you've made enough mistakes in your life that you do learn that you're not perfect and that it's just part of life is making some mistakes. You're just, it's just how we learn. It's just part of human nature is just you make a mistake, you learn from it. You don't make that mistake again, hopefully. Maybe you do make the mistake again, but hopefully not. And I've spent a good portion of my life beating myself up about past mistakes I've made, whether big or small, and treating myself like a bad person. I have several mental health disorders. I have generalized anxiety disorder, I have obsessive compulsive disorder, and I have bipolar disorder. And I spent many years thinking that the bipolar disorder was the worst one. Turns out the OCD has really rocked my world a lot more. And I think with the OCD, it's because there's anybody who has OCD, there's a prime area of focus where the OCD lies. Like for some people, it can be contamination. For some people, it can be like numbers. And there's a lot of rumination that comes with obsessive compulsive disorder, which I have. But my area of focus for OCD has always been whether or not I'm a good person. So I spend a lot of time ruminating about past mistakes I've made. Am I a good person? Am I not a good person? Would the world be better or worse with me in it? Did I say or do anything that could make me a bad person? Do I think like a bad person? The thoughts just don't stop. I see not one but two therapists for these conditions. I also have a psychiatrist for medication management. So ultimately, I try to manage this stuff the best of my ability, but I've learned through therapy and medications and all the stuff that I've been dealing with the past however many years, I've learned that self-love is very important and that I'm not going to get past this unless I learn to love myself, including my imperfections. And that's not always been easy for me because there's so many times that I feel like I don't like to admit it, but I feel like I'm kind of a perfectionist. I fixate over every little mistake I make. How can I do this better? Could I have done this way instead of that way? And it just drives me crazy. Which I try not to throw that word around loosely, but it drives me mad. So I get to a point where, self-love has to be a thing, because otherwise I think part of it is fixating on some of the mistakes I've made, and then I make more mistakes, and then I fixate over those mistakes, and it's a vicious cycle. And I've gotten to a point in my life where I realize I just can't keep beating myself up anymore. I have to learn to love myself for my imperfections. So that's something I've been working on the last couple years. And, I think part of it, when I came out as non-binary, I learned to love myself. Because I feel like I was always kind of focused on the feminine part of myself. That was always the part that was the most prevalent, the part that stood out the most. I didn't really realize I had a masculine side for a while until I started kind of exploring more deeply. And then that's when I realized that my gender is, and my sexuality for that matter, are both pretty fluid. I guess I'm just a pretty fluid person. So I came out as both bisexual and non-binary, which, coming out for one or the other is one thing, but then coming out with the other was interesting in itself. So yeah, basically having to come out twice, I guess, but yeah, it's whatever. I'm just me at the end of the day, and I'm just getting to the point in my life that, I'm almost 34 years old. I turn 34 very soon. I'm kind of having a bit of a midlife crisis, and I just wonder what I'm doing with my life, and I realize that one of the things I'm doing with my life is that I'm not exactly loving myself for who I am, and I want that to change. I don't want to keep dwelling over past mistakes. I don't want to spend my life being miserable because I can't accept myself for who I am. You get to a point in your life where you learn to love yourself no matter what, and I think that's kind of where I'm at now. So, some ways that you can learn to love yourself is that, like, if I have a day that I'm feeling particularly down on myself, I like to do things like sometimes I like to put on makeup, I like to paint my nails, I like to wear clothes that make me feel confident. Sometimes I like to go shopping. Buying myself stuff kind of makes me feel closer because it allows me to embrace my hobbies and things that I enjoy. Like I might buy myself some video games or some games to play on video game platforms. Might buy myself a new shirt or some accessories like these these chokers here. I like these. I'm probably a little old for them, but I still wear them proudly because it's, I'm alternative. It's just kind of part of my nature, but, I would say goth girl, but with me being non-binary, I guess the girl part is kind of complicated, but yeah, I'm kind of to the point in my life where I like what I like, and I don't want people to walk all over me anymore. I don't want to be this big doormat that just welcomes bullying and harassment and things that I don't deserve. And because I think part of having self-love is sticking up for yourself and realizing that you deserve to be loved. I've told myself many times I don't think I deserve to be loved. I don't think I deserve forgiveness from the people that I've wronged. But then I've realized, what does that accomplish? At the end of the day, what does that accomplish? Me punishing myself endlessly for no reason? I mean, you have this one life, you make mistakes, you're not perfect. I mean, there are some mistakes that aren't forgivable, but if I haven't made any unforgivable mistake, then why punish myself for no reason? I mean, what good does that do at the end of the day? So yeah, I'm just kind of rambling on about my own life and my own struggles, but I do hope that anybody watching this can learn to love themselves as I've learned to love myself, because it's not an easy road to get to. You don't get there overnight, but it is something that happens over time. I think that when you've seen yourself in enough situations and you've seen yourself struggle enough, you start to realize the things that you've survived, and when you realize how strong of a person you are, I think that makes you appreciate yourself more. And you kind of learn to overcome some of the things in life, and I've got a long way to go in my life, and I do look forward to seeing myself taking on new challenges and kind of just continuing to grow as a person, because I'd like to think I'm always a work in progress. I'm never done growing, no matter how old I am or anything like that. But until the next time, have a good day, guys.